what it ain't. It's your boy Rude Dog. Check this out, man. Yo, I'm back up in this motherfucker with the day one recap. Day one recap. Anyways, let's go ahead and get on off into the disclaimer. This is an adult channel. Adult things do happen. Adult things do go wrong. You will hear me smoking. You will hear me talking crazy. You will hear me saying some things that have you like, what the profanity will be used extensively. But just letting you know now. Oh yeah. And and strong things will be said throughout this video. So if you're under 18 or under 16 and do not have your parents' permission, please get your parents' permission before you watch this video. Now let's get it in, baby. Got some promotion to do real quick now. Got some promotion to do. Now, get ready, y'all. Coming out very soon. Yes, sir. Naptown Underground. The Underground. Insert whatever you want because it's incredible. It's incredible. You got your boy Rude Dog, Knowledge Bone. You know, basically like the normal members of the fam. You know how that go. Then we got BAM! Volume 2. Volume 2. Volume 2. Naptown Underground with C Double, Mr. Low, Chief Foo Wee. You know, the Hustle No Rest 7 best distributors. You know, I'm telling you, man, yo, they got some they got some pretty good distribution in there. You know, they got it for any level that you pretty much want it on there. You know what I mean? They got, do people really listen to the lyrics of the beat? Do they? That's a very good question. Do they really listen to the lyrics or the beat? You know what I mean? There's no best dog program. It really ain't. But you'll get on off into that when you read it. So let's get on off into the other brother. The other brother. Now, let's see. Let's get some screen sharing this piece going on. Some old Diddy recapish. Some recapish Diddy. Recapish Diddy. Bam.
Welcome to Eyewitness News' special coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Testimony wrapped up around 5 o'clock today. We heard from 2 witnesses, and we also saw that much anticipated introduction of that horrific assault video from 2016. Let's show you some of the video of some of Sean Diddy Combs' family leaving court. 6 children were in court today, seated in the second row along with his mom. He blew a kiss to them at one point, and Diddy wearing what has now been a classic look for this trial, a collared shirt and a pullover over that and some khakis. But you could see his mood change throughout the day as we first heard from the first 2 witnesses from the prosecution describing graphic detail some of these allegations of sexual escapades. That included a male prostitute that we heard from, a male escort. His testimony expected to pick back up tomorrow. Let's bring in Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles, because Darla, you were inside today, and you want to talk about a whirlwind day, because when we started today, we didn't even have a jury yet.
Not at all, and a lot of things that you mentioned just about his mood changing, what he's wearing, those are things that we did expect today. But for it to go so fast, for a federal trial to finalize a jury, do the strike process, and there was a little contention about that. The defense argued that they struck 7 of 9 black jurors, so there was a bit of a disagreement about that. Moved on past that. And so then they got to opening statements, and then we got to the first 2 witnesses for the beginning of what's going to be a really explosive and explicit trial. The first day of the Sean Diddy Combs racketeering and sex trafficking trial in the bag. Combs today wearing the same look as last week. Slacks, a sweater over a white collared shirt in a different color. His mother and children seated in the second row behind him. The 55-year-old has a team of at least 8 defense attorneys, but he's very much engaged in his own defense, at times nodding his head towards his attorney in approval or disapproval. In opening statements, federal prosecutors describing a drug-fueled world of violence, rage, and sexual abuse enabled by a trusted inner circle who they say helped Combs keep his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura under his power and control, forcing her to have sex with male escorts in hotel rooms for what was at first called a freak-off, but sometimes called a Wild King night or hotel nights. But attorneys for Combs say there was nothing criminal about his behavior, calling this his private personal sex life, adding what he understood was that she was a willing participant in their sex life. The very first piece of evidence introduced, an unedited version of this March 2016 surveillance video obtained by CNN at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. An off-duty LAPD officer working security that night testifying about what Ventura told him. She was saying that she wanted to get her phone, her bag, she wanted to leave. But Combs told her, "You're not going to leave." The second witness today was an escort testifying that he participated at a freak-off at the Gramercy Park Hotel, which at one point turned violent. Testifying to the court, Mr. Combs walked over to Cassie, grabbed her by her hair, and started dragging her into the bedroom. Ventura's husband, Alex Fine, spotted outside the federal courthouse this afternoon. This just a day before she takes the stand, publicly addressing her relationship with Combs for the first time. So tomorrow morning, they will begin court with continuing and finishing up the cross-examination of the escort who was on the stand today. And then Ventura will take the stand, expected to be on the stand for the remainder of the week. And remember, she has to take frequent breaks, maybe about every hour and a half, because she's in her third trimester, Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about just the atmosphere inside the courtroom. You were in there. Describe, what did he look like? What did you make out when you were sitting there?
You know, I've been in court since the first day back in September, and I get a lot of questions about what he looks like. Even today, my friends are like, what does he look like? And, you know, he does look different than the first day. He's gray, like you see a lot of
He's not allowed
gray.
to color his hair during the court
Well,
proceeding.
you know, no color, no color.
So he's salt and pepper, looks much more like a grandfather is what I've heard described.
No, he doesn't look as much. He looks different, but what I can tell you is now we've seen him so much like this. This is what he looks like to us, right? So he has gray
Except
hair.
people can't see it because there are no cameras in there. So you've
Well,
been inside
I'm
and
trying to
you see
tell
it.
you, Mike. I'm trying to tell you. I mean, but you know, a lot has been made about his appearance, and one thing that is really, I think, why that's such a big point of interest is because remember, like in the late '90s, he kind of ushered in the luxury and the glam and the bling part of hip hop. Remember, that was the golden era of hip hop, and it was still kind of like rough and edgy, but he really ushered in that luxurious kind of persona with that. And so to see him kind of like as a prep school boy, which might be a defense strategy, the prep school look, him in court every day, but he's wearing his glasses. And when I tell you he is locked in, you know, the same traits that he worked that made him a mogul, he's obviously employing some other that skill in court today, just really focusing in and locking it on what's happening.
And he certainly was sitting in there listening to all these details, just like the jury and just like family members as well. Darla, you're going to be back out here, covering this and seeing how it all plays out.
I will tell you, he doesn't have any reaction to any of the testimony.
Nothing.
No reaction. He's just very focused. There's no reaction. The only reaction that you will see, the only time you really see him emote, will be when he sees his family, his attorneys, or earlier today when he really needed a lot of water because he was nervous.
And we'll see what happens with Cassie Ventura taking the stand tomorrow. You know, is that video that really kind of opened up this whole larger investigation, that video that captured that assault in 2016, and because of the civil lawsuit that she filed, investigators started digging through his past, and then other women came forward, and that's how we...
So basically then what they doing is baking a cake for this dude. This dude is basically fucked. Diddy is done. His game is over. So Diddy's ass really need to figure out what the hell he gonna do next, because I don't think, doing the old take that, the old Diddy shuffle. I don't think that's gonna work no more, bro. You can't bad boy your way out of it. Oh, excuse me. You can't bad boy your way out of this one. You feel me?
We reached today.
And please don't take this down because you see the ABC envelope. Please don't.
It was September 2023. Sean Diddy Combs, seemingly on top of the world, had just released his 5th studio album, and New York Mayor Adams presented him with a key to the city.
P. Diddy Combs, our brother, giving it up for him. What's up, New York?
Fast forward 2 months, and the first sign of problems appeared.
And we've got breaking news. Sean Combs, better known as Puff Daddy or Diddy, is facing a lawsuit from Cassandra Ventura, better known as singer Cassie, alleging years of sexual abuse and rape.
1 day later, Combs and Ventura agreed to settle the lawsuit. But in the coming weeks, more accusers came forward. It all prompted Combs to write in a since-deleted Instagram post, quote, "Enough is enough. For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of these awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." But then on March 25th, 2024.
Now to a developing story involving music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Federal investigators raided his homes in Los Angeles and Miami today as part of a human trafficking investigation here in New York City.
The intersection could be that some of these civil claims involve criminal charges like trafficking that don't have a statute of limitations. And that's something that the SDNY or Manhattan can investigate, and appears that they are.
As investigators were building their case, a bombshell in mid-May. CNN aired this hotel surveillance video from 2016 that showed Combs kicking and dragging Ventura.
Ventura's attorney today said that the gut-wrenching video has only further confirmed the disturbing and predatory behavior of Mr. Combs.
2 days later, Combs apologized.
I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm so sorry.
That you do.
But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day.
Which brings us to September 16th, 2024, 1 year after he received that symbolic key to New York City.
Sean Diddy Combs arrested here in New York by federal authorities after a grand jury indictment.
The charges: racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitution.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent.
Want to bring in retired District Attorney Michael Bachner, who was also part of the defense team for Sean Diddy Combs during the shooting trial back in the early 2000s. Michael, thanks for being here. Let's talk about this video. It got so much play when it was released, and it's
that's badass. They even got the lawyer in on this one. They brought the whole team. See, this is what I'm talking about. Now, see, this is some real story journalism right here. This is some real story journalism. You can't get no realer than this. This is some real shit right here, y'all.
Horrific assault. In fact, Diddy apologized for that assault. The defense today is saying it happened. How does that sit with a jury when you see that in this type of context?
You can be sure that the prosecution is going to play that tape very slowly, frame by frame, and is going to walk Cassie Ventura through it. What happened here? How did you get out of the hotel room? What was happening in the hotel room? How many times did he hit you? How did you feel like when he hit you? Did he say anything when he hit you? The defense is going to hope that this tape ends as quickly as possible and may have very few questions about the actual tape itself. It's a horrendous piece of evidence because it demonstrates the assaultive nature of the relationship. And they're just going to try and explain it away as domestic violence, but it's going to be a hard road to hoe for them.
And it's hard to see, not only for family members in court, of everybody involved, but also for the jury. 8 men, 4 women, a mixture of people from Manhattan, the Bronx, Westchester. You have a social worker, a lineman. You also have a massage therapist, age ranging from in their 70s and then all the way to their 30s. What do you make of the final jury that we got just before opening statements came today?
You know, it's an interesting mixture of people. It's a normal Manhattan Southern District.
Now, see, this is just a brief picture of the jury selection. This is just a brief picture of it. I don't have their names or nothing like that, but this is a brief picture of the jurors that was in the trial that's hearing this story and that is getting shot. We got somebody from Manhattan. We got 2 from Manhattan, 3, 4, 5. Shit, they mainly got New York up here. This is New York. Westchester, the Bronx, Manhattan. This is mainly New York.
Jury. This is kind of what the poll always looks like when you pick a jury out there. You have 8 men, 4 women. I'm not so sure men are better for the defense here. I think men may actually be more difficult for the defense. And it's going to be very interesting. You have the massage therapist who has an interesting job. You know, she's involved with touching people, but knows that there's lines you can't cross. There's consent issues. You know, so it's going to be very interesting. People pull from their experiences. But this is going to be one of those cases. Who do I believe? Do I believe the credibility of the witnesses the prosecution is going to call or not?
Sean Diddy Combs is charged with sex trafficking and racketeering. He's not charged with assault of Cassie Ventura, although this video, right out of the gate, jurors are seeing that. How much of a hurdle is it for prosecutors to explain the specific charges that Mr. Combs is facing, and then to figure out how you tie all that together with these charges?
They've done this a lot of times. These prosecutors are extremely experienced. The judge will give them the law. You know, the bottom line is there is no federal assault like you have in state court. There is no federal domestic violence charge. They couldn't be charged with that even if they wanted to. So what they charge them with is what the federal law requires, and the court will tell them what the law is, tell them what the facts is, tell them not to speculate about what charges could have been brought, should have been brought. Just is the facts sufficient to prove the law and the facts match up here? And that's what they're going to do.
This is expected to be a long trial, looking at some of the tea leaves, perhaps that are hidden within these opening statements or just out in the open. What did you make of the opening statements from a defensive point of view? How do you think they're going to try to defend them?
Tanny Garagos did a very nice job in trying to take the wind out of the sails of the prosecution's at least use of this tape, which is the most horrendous piece of evidence, and basically trying to explain, you know, these are the lifestyles of the rich and famous. They're not like us, but just because they're not like us doesn't mean it's a crime. This is the type of sexual conduct they engage in. You might find it offensive, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's not a crime. So she did a good job in trying to deal with the salacious nature of the charges and try to explain that away and try to also demonstrate that the videotape recordings that Puffy made of these events, many of them were recorded, demonstrate, she will argue, the consensual nature of the conduct. The prosecution's perspective is they're going to say, listen to these jurors, they were beaten up. You can see this, the report, the CNN tape as we call it. This is indicative of what the relationship looked like. It was abusive, it was controlling, it was evil. And this is what Puffy did, and people hid it from him, and this is the enterprise he engaged in.
Of course, circling around and swirling around all of this is the fact that this is a celebrity, a person who is at the top of his game at the point of these accusations, and you see people from all over the world taking interest in what's playing out here. Mm-hmm. How does that play inside the courtroom, though?
It's a really interesting question. When we tried the case 24 years ago, our concern was that celebrity aspect of the case might be held against him. And for some people it did, and for some people it didn't. Obviously, we were lucky we had an acquittal, not lucky we worked hard. But in this type of a case, we've had R. Kelly, we've had Weinstein, we've had Epstein. Juries now have seen that even the rich and even the famous can engage in conduct that is criminal. So I don't know if the celebrity nature of it is going to play in, except for the financial motive that they're going to allege is underlying all of this. Money, 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 that's what this case is about.
Because the defense will point to the Cassie Ventura civil settlement.
Correct.
That she secured, and then now she's testifying in this federal case criminally. Just wrapping up, do you think that Mr. Combs will testify?
Interesting question. He did at our trial, and after he testified, the lawyers had a sigh of relief. In fact, lead counsel Ben Brathman actually almost was in tears because he knew that if Combs was not believed, he was convicted. So Puffy walked away from that case unharmed. He didn't help and he didn't hurt. I don't expect he will testify at this case. There's much too much to explain. They're going to try and make their reasonable doubts through cross-examination.
And there's a lot on the line. He's 55, and these charges could land him in prison for decades.
Yeah, this is a life sentence.
All right, Michael Bachner, appreciate your perspective as always.
Pleasure.
We mentioned the interest in this case, not only media members from around the world, but the public also lining up this morning just to try to get a spot inside either the courtroom or the overflow room. And I'm looking over here, people are already lined up, trying to get a spot inside for day 2 as we make a pivot now to the second day of testimony. Again, we expect to hear from the cross-examination of the defense, to that male escort, and then the much anticipated testimony of then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. You can follow ABC News and ABC7NY for all the coverage, including a real-time blog of the developments coming out of court here at 500 Pearl Street on the 26th floor where Sean Diddy Combs is on trial for sex trafficking and racketeering. From all of us here at Eyewitness News, I'm Mike Morrison. Thanks for watching.
Wow. And that was the full recap right there. You know what I mean? You can't get no liver than that. That was the full recap of the whole trial, the whole thing. So if you ain't caught up, you caught up now.